Imagine, if you will, the weight of betrayal pressing down upon your soul, the sting of words spoken against you, the bitterness of actions taken to wound you, and the loneliness of nights spent questioning why those you trusted most chose to pierce your heart. You've carried pain quietly, like a shadow that follows you wherever you go. Perhaps you've asked yourself, where is God in all of this? Why does He allow me to suffer at the hands of others? Pain has a strange way of becoming the language through which heaven speaks. What others intended to break you has been carefully observed by the one who sits enthroned above all. Nothing escaped His gaze. The nights of tears, the days of silent endurance, the prayers whispered when no one was listening. What they thought would leave you crushed, God has been shaping into the very evidence of His glory. For His power is not revealed when life is smooth, but when darkness surrounds you and you still rise, not by your strength, but by His. Think for a moment of the seed buried beneath the soil. To the casual observer, it looks forgotten, smothered, and lost, yet in the silence of the earth, transformation takes place. The very pressure of the soil becomes the reason for its growth. In the same way, the pain inflicted upon you is not the end of your story. It is the fertile ground in which God is preparing something so magnificent that when it emerges, no one will be able to deny it was His hand at work. Have you noticed how often in Scripture God allows His chosen ones to pass through the fire before revealing His favor? Joseph was betrayed by his own brothers and left for dead, yet that betrayal became the very road to the palace. Daniel was cast into the lion's den, but his deliverance became the testimony of God's sovereignty. The cross itself, the deepest cruelty humanity could inflict, became the eternal proof of God's power over sin and death. Can it be then that your suffering is not meaningless? Could it be the stage upon which God is preparing to display His undeniable strength? The people who caused you pain thought they were writing the final chapter of your story, but they underestimated the author of your life. What they meant as an ending, God is transforming into a beginning. The rejection, the betrayal, the humiliation, all of it is being reshaped by the hands of the Almighty. Your scars will not be symbols of defeat. They will be the marks of a battle where God Himself fought for you. And when that moment comes, and it will come, those who wounded you will stand as witnesses to His power. They will see that the very pain they handed you became the instrument God used to lift you higher. The tables will turn, not because you sought revenge, but because God's justice cannot be mocked. The world will marvel, not at your strength, but at His power displayed through your weakness. Pause and reflect. What if the pain you carry right now is the very thing God is about to use to announce His presence in your life? What if your tears are the seeds of a harvest of joy so abundant that even your enemies cannot deny it? What if every cruel word, every wound, and every betrayal was only preparing you to become the living proof of God's faithfulness? This is not just hope, it is a divine certainty. God is about to turn the pain they gave you into the proof of His power in your life. And when He does, your story will no longer be about what they did to you, but about what God did through you. When people wound you, they believe they have written the final line in your story. They think their cruelty, their mockery, or their betrayal will stand as the last word about who you are. But here lies the mystery of God's kingdom. The very places where you were most deeply cut are the very places where His glory shines most brightly. Pain is not wasted in the hands of God. It becomes the ink with which He writes His testimony through your life. Think of Joseph, abandoned by his own brothers. His wounds were not only physical but deeply emotional. The sting of being unwanted, the despair of being sold like an object. Yet years later, when he stood as ruler over Egypt, his wounds had become his witness. He could look into the eyes of those who betrayed him and say, "You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good." That is what God does. He turns wounds into witness, scars into sermons, and pain into proof. Have you ever noticed that people listen more intently to someone who has been through something real? Words spoken by someone who has never known suffering often sound hollow. But when someone who has been crushed, abandoned, or betrayed speaks of God's faithfulness, their words carry a different weight. Their testimony cuts through the noise because it is forged in fire. And this is what God is preparing in you. The pain you endured, though unfair, is shaping you into a living testimony that cannot be silenced. Your tears have been prayers, each one falling into the hands of God like drops of gold. What the world could not see, He saw. What others mocked, He recorded. The people who wounded you may never apologize, may never acknowledge their cruelty, but they will not escape the justice of God. For in His timing He will raise you up, not in spite of your wounds, but because of them, and those who doubted you will be forced to confront a truth they cannot deny, the proof of God's power resting upon your life. Picture this: the very ones who whispered about your downfall will have no choice but to witness your rising. They may have been the source of your tears, but they will also become the audience to your triumph. And this is how God works. He never wastes suffering. He turns the very stage built for your humiliation into the platform of His revelation. Your life, your scars, your story will declare what words alone cannot, that God is faithful, and His power is stronger than the cruelty of man. Pain has a way of making us believe we are buried. You feel hidden, forgotten, pressed beneath the weight of trials. But what if what looks like burial is actually planting? The difference between being buried and being planted is not the darkness, it is the expectation of growth. And with God, your pain is never burial, it is always planting. When a seed is placed into the ground, it looks like death. It is covered, unseen, pressed into the earth. Yet beneath the soil, an invisible miracle begins. The pressure that seems to suffocate actually awakens life within. The breaking of the seed is not its destruction. It is the process by which it becomes fruitful. And so it is with you. The pain inflicted by others, the rejection you endured, the nights of loneliness, these were not the end of you. They were the soil in which God planted His purposes. Think of how a diamond is formed under immense pressure. Think of how gold is refined in the hottest fire. Think of how a pearl comes to be through irritation and pain. Each of these treasures is born from what looks unbearable, and so the pain they gave you, though cruel, is being transformed in the secret place into something priceless. You are being refined, strengthened, and prepared for a season where what broke you will become the very evidence of your elevation. God never allows pain without attaching purpose to it. He does not delight in your suffering, but He uses it to awaken something within you that ease and comfort never could. Without the betrayal, Joseph would never have reached the palace. Without the lions, Daniel would never have revealed the faithfulness of God. Without the cross, the world would never have known redemption. And without your pain, the world would never see the proof of His power uniquely revealed in you. Right now, you may feel like the seed in the soil, buried, forgotten, unseen. But the truth is that God is working beneath the surface. In silence, He is preparing your breakthrough. In the darkness, He is nurturing new life. In your weakness, He is showing His strength. What looked like the end of you is actually the planting of something far greater than you can imagine. So do not despise the soil of pain. Do not think your tears have been wasted. Every hidden season is sacred to God. For when the appointed time comes, you will rise, not as the same person who went into the ground, but as someone transformed, strengthened, and carrying undeniable proof of his power. The soil of your pain will become the garden of your testimony. There is something profoundly humbling about the justice of God. For those who lift themselves high by stepping on the backs of others, the fall is inevitable. Those who mocked you, those who misused your kindness, those who believed they could harm you without consequence, they did not consider that there is an all-seeing eye that neither slumbers nor sleeps. Every act of cruelty they committed against you was noted by the Judge of heaven. Nothing is hidden from him, and nothing escapes his justice. When people act with arrogance, they deceive themselves into believing that power belongs to them. They speak and behave as though they control the future, as though they are untouchable. But arrogance always blinds the heart. Pharaoh thought he could enslave God's people forever, yet the waters of the Red Sea swallowed his pride. Haman built gallows for Mordecai, yet he himself was hanged upon them. A gallows inside him, and a hand inside his heart, yet he himself was hanged upon them. The same God who overturned their arrogance is still alive, still reigning, still defending his own. Your pain has not gone unnoticed. The tears they caused were not silent to heaven. Each wound is written in God's book, each act of betrayal weighed on his scales. And though it may seem that the arrogant prosper for a time, their steps are already slipping. For when God rises to act, their pride will be exposed as nothing more than weakness dressed as strength. They may have thought they destroyed you, but God is about to reveal that it is not you who is finished, it is their power over you that is finished. The fascinating thing about divine justice is that it not only restores you, it silences your enemies. God does not merely lift you up, he ensures that those who thought they had the upper hand must watch him do it. The people who laughed at your struggle will be struck silent when they see his hand on your life. This is not vengeance in your hands, it is vindication in his. And when he acts, the arrogance of those who hurt you will collapse under the weight of his truth. So hold your peace. Do not waste your strength fighting battles that belong to God. Do not let the bitterness of their cruelty turn you into what they are. Trust the Judge who never errs, who knows the hidden motives of every heart. For the same God who saw their arrogance is the God who will reveal his power through your life in such a way that their pride will be exposed for what it truly is, weakness against his sovereignty. When you think of your past, you may see scars, reminders of what was taken from you, of moments that nearly broke you. Scars are proof that pain was real, that betrayal was felt, that wounds cut deeply. Yet scars are also proof of survival. They testify that though you were struck down, you did not remain in the dust. And in God's design, scars become more than reminders of pain. They become symbols of his glory. Consider the risen Christ. He appeared to his disciples not with a body erased of wounds, but with scars still visible. Thomas, filled with doubt, demanded to see proof. And what did Jesus do? He showed his hands and his side. The very scars of the crucifixion became the evidence of resurrection. What looked like defeat was transformed into undeniable proof of victory. This is what God intends to do with your scars. The betrayals that tried to shatter you, the losses that seemed unbearable, the rejection that left you hollow, none of these will remain as mere wounds. They will become the living proof of God's sustaining hand. People will look at you and see not someone destroyed, but someone carried by grace. Your scars will tell a story greater than the pain. They will tell of the one who brought you through. It is tempting to hide our scars, to cover up the parts of our story that feel too painful to share. But the glory of God is often revealed through transparency. When others see your scars, they see a God who heals, who restores, who turns agony into testimony. The scars of your past are not marks of shame, but emblems of God's faithfulness. Without them, your story would be incomplete. With them, your story becomes a testament of survival and triumph. Think of the scars as holy reminders. Every time you see them, you are reminded that you were not abandoned, that you did not fall beyond His reach. And when others see them, they will be drawn not to your strength, but to the God who sustained you. In this way, scars become sacred. They are not just symbols of what was lost, but of what was gained, a deeper trust, a greater faith, and a testimony that cannot be silenced. So do not despise the scars. Do not wish them away, for they are the very proof that the pain you endured has been transformed into the power of God in your life. What once looked like defeat will one day be the very mark that makes others believe in His glory. One of the hardest lessons to accept when we are wounded is the waiting. You want justice now. You want the tables to turn immediately. You want those who mocked you to taste their own bitterness without delay. And yet, the hand of God rarely moves according to our schedule. He works in seasons, and His seasons are perfect. What looks like delay is often preparation. What feels like silence is actually strategy. Consider David. He was anointed as king long before he wore the crown. In between the promise and its fulfillment, he endured rejection, false accusations, and attempts on his life. Saul, filled with envy, pursued him like a criminal. It must have seemed unjust, unbearable, unending. Yet David waited. He did not take vengeance into his own hands, even when given the chance. He allowed God to set the stage, and when the tables finally turned, no one could deny that it was the Lord who established him. This is the same pattern in your life. The tables will turn, not by your manipulation, not by your anger, not even by your cleverness. They will turn by the hand of God in a way that no one can argue against. Those who try to bury you will see you standing. Those who laughed at your pain will watch you lifted. Those who thought they had silenced you will be forced to listen to your testimony. And all of this will happen in His time, not yours. There is a reason for the waiting. If justice came too quickly, your story would be small and your testimony shallow. But by allowing the trial to stretch longer than you would like, God deepens your character, strengthens your faith, and prepares the stage so that when He acts, it is undeniably Him. The delay ensures that your triumph cannot be mistaken for coincidence. It ensures that your victory points only to His power. Think of how a potter works clay. He does not rush the process, for rushing would cause cracks. Instead, he allows the vessel to be shaped slowly, pressed, refined, and fired at just the right time. So too does God work with you. What feels like unbearable waiting is the shaping of your story. And when the moment comes, the tables will turn so suddenly that those who doubted you will be stunned into silence. Hold on then, in the waiting. Do not believe the lie that nothing is happening. The truth is that God is already aligning circumstances, already shifting the ground beneath your enemy's feet, already preparing the evidence of His power. The day will come when the laughter of the arrogant will be drowned out by the sound of your rising. The tables will turn, not in your time, and when they do, His glory will shine through you so brightly that no one will be able to deny it. There are people watching your life right now who may never step into a church, may never read the scriptures, may never listen to a sermon, but they will see you. They will witness your pain, your endurance, your scars, your survival. And in your story, they will encounter the living God. Your life becomes a message that no preacher can deliver, no book can capture, no argument can silence. Think about it. When Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego stepped out of the fiery furnace unharmed, it was not their eloquence that converted the king. It was their survival. The fire that was meant to consume them became the evidence of God's presence. Their very existence became the sermon. The same is true for you. The pain that was supposed to destroy you will instead become the proof that draws others toward Him. Your story is not just for you. God has always intended to use it as evidence for others. The betrayal you endured will inspire someone who feels abandoned. The loss you survived will encourage someone drowning in grief. The rejection you overcame will give hope to someone who believes they are worthless. Every part of your story, even the parts you wish you could erase, carries within it the power to lead others to Him. And here is the beautiful irony. The very people who caused you pain will not only witness your transformation, but they will be forced to confront the truth that their cruelty became the seed of someone else's salvation. What they meant for evil will ripple into good beyond what they ever imagined. Your scars will preach louder than their lies, your survival louder than their slander, your triumph louder than their betrayal. Never underestimate the power of your story. You may think, I am nothing special, I have only suffered. But suffering in the hands of God is never wasted. It is transformed into evidence. When others see that you endured and still shine, that you were broken and still stand, that you were rejected and yet loved by God, they cannot help but see His fingerprints. So, when you look at your life and wonder why God allowed the pain, remember this. He is writing a story through you that will strengthen others. He is shaping your testimony into a weapon against despair. He is turning your private suffering into public proof of His glory. Your life will be the evidence others need to believe that God is real, that He is faithful, and that His power is stronger than the cruelty of men. There comes a moment when God no longer hides His work in the shadows of your heart, but places it on display for the world to see. What was once private becomes public. What was once silent becomes undeniable. The very life others thought was ruined becomes the stage upon which God reveals His glory. And this is His way. He chooses the broken vessel, the rejected soul, the wounded heart to showcase His power, for it is through weakness that His strength is made perfect, and through pain that His beauty shines the brightest. The people who hurt you believed their cruelty would silence you. They thought their betrayal would erase your future, but what they did not realize is that they handed God the stage. Every harsh word, every wound, every rejection became part of the backdrop for the story He is now about to unveil. And when He does, you will not be the only one transformed. Those who doubted you will stand as witnesses. Think of it like a theater. The stage has been set for years, the curtains drawn, the audience restless. You've endured rehearsals in secret, nights of tears, days of endurance, moments of despair. But now, the curtain is about to lift, and when it does, the spotlight will not be on your pain, but on His power. You are not the main actor, He is, but your life is the stage through which the world will see Him. This is why you have endured what others could not. This is why you survived what others thought would destroy you. God has been preparing you, shaping you, refining you for this very unveiling. Your life, with all its scars and struggles, is about to become a living testimony so radiant that no one, friend or foe, can deny the reality of God. And when that moment comes, you will not boast in yourself, you will not lift your name high, you will simply point to Him and say, "It was God, only God." The stage will belong to Him, the glory will belong to Him, and the story of your life will declare His faithfulness for generations to come. My friend, remember this: The pain they gave you was never the end of your story. It was the beginning of a greater revelation. Every tear has been counted, every wound recorded, every betrayal written down in the book of heaven. And now the author of your story is about to turn the page. The chapter of pain is giving way to the chapter of power, the chapter of humiliation to the chapter of honor, the chapter of rejection to the chapter of restoration. The same God who lifted Joseph from the pit, who pulled Daniel from the lions, who raised Christ from the grave, is the same God who will lift you. Your enemies will not have the last word. The pain they inflicted will not define you. God Himself will take what they meant for harm and transform it into proof of His power in your life. And when that moment comes, your scars will speak, your story will shine, and your life will become a testimony that cannot be silenced. What they gave you as pain, God will return to you as power. What they thought would bury you will become the platform of your rising, and the world will see not your strength, but His. So lift your head, wipe your tears, steady your heart. The season of suffering is shifting. God is about to turn the pain they gave you into the undeniable proof of His power in your life, and when He does, no one will be able to deny that His hand has been upon you all along.